Chapter 8 Business Organizations. Why do some businesses succeed and others fail? In this chapter, we will be covering four different types of business organizations. So, why are we doing this? What is the purpose of this chapter? Well, success looks like at the end of the chapter, you will help to identify your career path. Do you want to go into business for yourself? Do you want to work for a franchise? What about a corporation? Or do you want to go the nonprofit route? What direction do you want to go? So I hope in this chapter you'll have a better understanding of what direction you would like to go for what type of business organization you would like to work for one day. And the second thing or purpose that I hope that you get out of this chapter is, do you ever want to go into business for yourself? How do you want to do that? Do you want to go in a partnership? Do you want to go by yourself? Do you want to go with a franchise? So those are the two purposes of this chapter that I find will be most beneficial to you. So here are the four different levels that we will be talking about in this chapter. We're going to start in the bottom level with any business organization as a sole proprietor. So, Section 1, what are the risks and benefits of being a sole proprietor? So, success looks like, in my mind, if you can identify, if you could go to the mall or see a store and being able to identify a sole proprietor business and get an understanding of how they operate, what they go through, that would be success in my mind, that you understand this section. So the question, what are the risks and benefits of being a sole proprietor? So let's start with, what is a sole proprietor? Business owned and managed by a single individual. This means that you go into business by yourself. You don't have anyone else working that is an owner in the business. It's just you. You could have employees, but you're the one responsible for this. So if you go downtown, there's a lot of restaurants downtown that are owned, that are sole proprietor. There's only one in existence, and usually the business owner is there every day working and just trying to manage the business on their own. 70% of the businesses in the U.S. start at this level when it comes to this, but they only make up for 4% of the net worth of sales that come in each year. So a lot of sole proprietors are a very small business. So if you have a sibling or a family member that has a photography business, they're a sole proprietor. And when it comes to this, so let's talk about a little bit more of a business organization. Ownership structure of a company or a firm. Everyone one day will work for a business organization. You might have a part-time job right now, and you're working for a business organization. You may be working for a sole proprietor. So if, let's say it's a restaurant, if they own that restaurant, they are a sole proprietorship. So the ownership structure of a company or firm is a business organization. So what are the things that are needed in order to be a sole proprietor or be considered an entrepreneur? Well, these are helpful ideas, but not a guarantee you have to have. Are you organized, responsible, energetic, goal-oriented, and do you know how to run a business? And if you said no to any of those, that's okay. A lot of times, if you have the entrepreneur spirit, you just keep going and fail and learn as you go, you'll make it. My first business, the business I have now, my food truck business, as we all know what that is, that wasn't the first business I've ever tried to start. I've tried many things. I tried things in high school, in college, and they usually say with an entrepreneur it takes 5 to 6, sometimes 7 times until you see success in a business. I tried a lawn business, as most people tried to do. I did a seal coating for basement floors and also garage floors. Only had one customer when I did that one year. I used to work for a carpet company to install carpet, and we'd rip out the old carpet. I would take that remnant piece. If there was any extra and if it was in decent shape, I would sell it online, and I had several customers with that. One year, I had a flyer distribution business where what I did was I created this very large flyer, and I went around to local businesses, and then they could purchase a part of the flyer, and then I would distribute it to the local community. Well, the way I did that was I hired a bunch of my my high school students at a previous school I was at, and they would pass them out, and then I paid them per piece, and it went pretty well. Circumstances changed, and I wasn't able to do it again. And I don't know if this person copied my idea or what, but probably about once a month or maybe every other month, we get in our mailbox the idea that I did. So I don't know if they were inspired by my idea to have this flyer distribution where local businesses can buy a part of this flyer or not. But every time I see it, it just in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, I should have kept doing that when it comes to it. So entrepreneur, you're just looking for opportunities, things that are around you. Where's a need? Where's something that people will be willing to pay for it in a decent amount? And if it's worth your time, I mean, there's a pursuit there for sure. This will be our 4th year with our food truck business. There have been some ups and downs when it comes to this. We've failed several times at different things. But to be an entrepreneur, these are some of the things that would be helpful to do, but you don't have to have it in order to be successful with this. So, we were talking about advantages and disadvantages of being a sole proprietor. One, it's extremely easy to start and end your business. You go online, you start a business license, you fill an application, you can go to the Department of Revenue, of Labor, and they have information on there for business license. There is so many websites out there that guide you through how to create a business license. When I started my food truck business, I was in business within an hour. So it's extremely easy to do. You need a site permit, certificate of occupancy. You can't just start a business in your house. It's mentioned before, you can't just put a restaurant in your house. And there's zoning laws that are there. So you have to have a site permit to occupy a certain place to operate your business. And then you need a business name, something that is unique when it comes to operating that people remember. Our name is a little difficult for people to remember exactly, but at the same time, they remember our product. They remember what our food truck looks like. So definitely some advantages there. So easy startup for sure. Other advantages, the zoning laws. A city, if you ever played SimCity, the game, you'll notice that there's residential, commercial, and industrial. So if you're to operate a business, you usually would have to make sure you're in zoning laws. Now, if you're doing a daycare or if you're doing a lawn business, well, then you don't have to worry so much about that. But if you're doing, I don't know, if you have a construction site where you have a bunch of equipment, you may not be able to keep all that at your house. You'd have to have somewhere for zoning law there. Sole receiver of profit. Whatever you bring in, that's yours. You are the business owner. You have complete right. You have earned every single penny when it comes to that. Also, you have full control. You can decide, okay, we're not going to run today, or we are, or we're going to work extra hours, or whatever you want to decide. You have complete control over your business. So sole receiver of profit and full control. It is quite the rewarding feeling at the end of the day to be business for yourself and make a profit and just stand back and have a little bit of pride that, God's help, obviously, that you were able to be successful in creating something that people wanted. So definitely advantages. Now, there are some disadvantages when it comes to this as well. You are personally responsible for anything that happens with your business. So let's say you have a newspaper business and you have the business and then you run into a car or something else happens where you damage someone else's property. You are liable for that. It is your business, so you are responsible to pay for legal debts that take place. Now that's why we have insurance, business insurance, to cover those things. You have a limited access to resources. Usually most people, if they're running their first business, they have very little resources, so they're operating on a shoestring budget most of the time when it comes to this, but you make do with what you have. Lack of permanence. If that person, whoever's operating this business, decides they want to be done, well, that business will fade away. Or if that person passes away, that would be lack of permanence. That business would cease to exist. And also fringe benefits. You are responsible not only to pay for your employees' wages or salary, but there's some other benefits that are included in that as well. So, for the section 1, we looked at the advantages and the disadvantages of being a sole proprietor. It's a lot of fun, it's exciting, it's risk-taking, but at the same time, you're not guaranteed anything. And being a sole proprietor, you are definitely on your own, but as mentioned already, if you're successful, that is on you. So that's why in this chapter, I hope that you can identify what a sole proprietor business looks like and kind of what they are responsible for, advantages and disadvantages when it comes to this. So that is the end of section 1 of chapter 8.